Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If I could ask you to stand, please, as we present the graduating class of Monsignor Kelly, 2020. Please be seated. As the principal of Monsignor Kelly Catholic High School, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you this evening to our commencement ceremonies for the class of 2020. It is fitting and appropriate that we begin this evening by remembering the many blessings, love, and presence of our God. Leading us in our opening prayer will be the Most Reverend Curtis Guillory, Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Beaumont. Following the opening prayer, Anna Hill, the President of Kelly High School's class of 2020, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And then our national anthem, a recording as performed at Super Bowl 39. Would you stand, please?
The prayer that I'm going to recite is a prayer by St. John Newman, who was a great Catholic educator. And I think this prayer is very appropriate for this evening's graduation, also given the circumstances in which this graduation has taken place. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, God has created me to do Him some definite service. He has committed some work to me which He has not committed to anyone else. I have a mission. I may never know it in this life, but I shall be told of it in the next. I am a link in a chain, a bond of connection between people. He has not created me for nothing. I shall do good. I shall do His work. I shall be an angel of peace, a preacher of truth in my own place, while not intending it if I do but keep His commandments. Therefore I will trust Him. Whatever I am and wherever I am, I can never be thrown away. If I am in sickness, my sickness may serve Him. In perplexity, my perplexity may serve Him. If I am in sorrow, my sorrow may serve Him. He does nothing in vain. He knows what He is about. He may take away my friends or what I really like. He may throw me among strangers or a different situation. He may make me feel desolate, make my spirit sink, hide my future from me. Still, He knows what He is about. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation of God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. On behalf of the graduating class of 2020 of Monsignor Kelly Catholic High School, let me again welcome you and thank you for joining us this evening as we come together to honor and celebrate the work and accomplishments of these students. On stage with me this evening are the valedictorian, the salutatorian, and the class president of the graduating class, Mrs. Marcia Stevens, Superintendent of Schools for the Catholic Diocese of Beaumont, and Bishop Curtis Guillory. I would like to acknowledge the hard work and the dedication of the faculty and administration of each of our feeder schools who work so hard to prepare their students to be successful here at Kelly High School, and who have had a large part in the accomplishments of this group of young people. If there are any teachers, administrators, or other staff members from our feeder schools with us this evening, would you please stand as I call each of the schools? St. Anne Catholic School, All Saints Episcopal, St. Anthony Cathedral Basilica School, St. Catherine of Siena Catholic School, and St. Mary Catholic School. Certainly one of the groups of individuals who have worked tirelessly over the past 4 years to bring these students to this point are the teachers and staff of Monsignor Kelly Catholic High School. I'd like to ask those that are present to stand and ask you to join me in thanking them for their dedication to the education and the formation of these students. Would you stand, please? Parents, I would like to take this final opportunity to thank you for sharing your child with us these last years. I believe that I speak for the entire staff of Kelly High School when I say we know that they are of utmost importance in your life, and we feel tremendously honored that you have chose us to share in the responsibility of their education and their formation. We are all too aware of the sacrifices families must make to provide Catholic education for their children. It is interesting to me to note that 62 of these 100 seniors have the superintendent's recognition, meaning they have been involved in Catholic education or education at All Saints and then Kelly High School all 12 years of their school career, plus another 27 who have the principal's recognition, meaning they have completed their entire 4 years of high school here at Kelly High School. Numerous national studies and surveys over the years have clearly indicated the advantages of a religious, faith-based education. Academic achievement is higher, the desire for higher education is greater, as well as is its accomplishment. Future involvement in churches and other religious organizations is much more likely. It is our prayer that we have lived up to and will continue to live up to this awesome responsibility. On behalf of the faculty and staff of Kelly High School, and I believe I speak for the faculty and staffs of each of our feeder schools as well, I want to thank you, the parents and families, for making the sacrifices necessary in making Catholic education possible for your son or daughter. Seniors and parents, I'd like to tell you a few things about this class. 58 of the 100, or 58%, are Catholic. The remaining 42 are Methodist, Baptist, Episcopal, Greek Orthodox, Christian, Mormon, non-denominational. 9 are non-Christian. Of the 58 Catholic students, almost half are members of St. Anne Parish. 8 come from St. Anthony Cathedral Parish, 6 from St. Jude, and 14 other Catholic parishes from our diocese are represented. Not surprisingly, most live here in Beaumont, but we also have seniors who live in Groves, Lumberton, Nederland, Orange, Port Arthur, Silsbee, Port Neches, and Vidor. 48 of these students are graduating with honors, meaning they have attained a GPA of 4.0 or higher. As of today, through AP testing last year and the dual credit program with Lamar University and Lamar University's online program, these students have already earned 582 college credit hours. And that does not count credit hours which will be earned from the AP testing that has been completed the last 2 weeks. As you know, service hours are an expectation of enrollment at Kelly High School. Despite the COVID school closing at spring break, the class documented just over 5,300 hours of service this year, more than twice what was expected of them. 23 of these students were recognized with the Good Samaritan Award this year. Normally, that would mean they performed at least 100 hours, but because of the closure order, we dropped that minimum to 75 this year. Still, of that 23, 16 performed more than 100 hours. Mallory Menken documented 350. Ray Smoman documented the highest of any student in the school, 547 hours. As a class, over their 4 years of high school, they documented over 21,600 hours of service in our community. Again, more than twice what was expected of them. These students report that they will disperse to attend 30 different colleges and universities, including Baylor, Rice, TCU, Brigham Young, LSU, Pepperdine, Stephen F. Austin, Texas State, the University of Houston, and St. Edward's University, just to name a few. Not to mention the perennial favorites, Lamar University, Texas A&M, and the University of Texas. To date, this class has been offered $3,994,766 in college scholarships. And just to give everyone an idea of how the world is different from when we graduated from high school, during the lifetime of these students, someone has always been living in space. They almost assuredly have never heard, "You've got mail." They probably know, "I Love Lucy" as a computer virus. Chernobyl has never produced any power. They very likely have no idea who Donnie and Marie were. Films have always been available to them to download from the internet. The Mir space station has always been at the bottom of the South Pacific. 9/11 to them is just a date in history. The primary use of their telephones is not to talk. It's to take pictures and to send messages. If they know what they are, iPods have been nothing but nostalgic to them. They may very well not have a younger sibling. The birth rate in this country has been dropping since they entered elementary school. And for any Cowboys fans, if they know him, they only know Troy Aikman as a sports announcer. Seniors, you are the 23rd graduating class with which I've worked at Kelly High School. Every class has been unique and memorable in its own way, and you are no exception. You are intelligent, you are talented and gifted. Sometimes you have been a challenge. But the void you will leave because of your concern, your kindness, and your consideration will be very wide indeed. I feel truly honored and blessed to have been a small part of your development these last 4 years. Kelly High School has attempted to prepare you for the next stage of your life. Not because you've learned to do advanced math, not because you have passed chemistry and physics, or because you can discuss the causes and effects of major historical events in our country or the world or the church, not because you have intellectual understanding of the sacraments or of great literature. We hope you are prepared for the next stage of your life because you have learned how to think, how to learn, how to work hard, and how to care for those around you. Those traits and a strong desire are the ones which will lead you to success. Over the next few weeks, hundreds of thousands of students will be graduating from high schools across our state and our nation. As a graduate of a Catholic high school, and Kelly High School in particular, you should be different. You are better prepared for success in college than most. I hope that you recognize that God has tremendously blessed you with gifts and talents, and that He did that so that you will be able to do His work in the world. Work hard in college. Continue to develop your intellect, your gifts, and your talents. Not so that you can make a lot of money or become famous, although I'm sure many of you will, but rather so that you will be better prepared to be of service to those around you, to do God's work with your life, no matter what you eventually choose to do. I'd now like to introduce the salutatorian of Monsignor Kelly Catholic High School's class of 2020, Jillian Claire Turley. Jill is a 2-year member of the National Honor Society and a 3-year member of Mu Alpha Theta. She has been on the Gold or All A honor roll every semester during high school. Jill was recognized with the Good Samaritan Award for performing more than 100 hours of community service during her sophomore year here at Kelly. Jill has been recognized by her teachers as the outstanding student in numerous classes, including AP Language, Pre-AP Algebra 2, Latin 2, Pre-AP Biology, and Pre-AP Geometry. Here at Kelly, she has been active in the retreat team, Kelly's dance force, for which she served as social officer historian for 2 years, and the Key Club, for which she served as webmaster social media manager for 2 years as well. Outside of Kelly High School, Jill is a member of the First Baptist Church of Beaumont, has been involved in competitive club soccer since 2010, and last summer participated in the Christian Leadership Institute at Baylor University. She has volunteered as a cleanup volunteer after both Hurricane Harvey and Tropical Storm Imelda, volunteered for the Catholic Charities Harvest of Hope, served on the Youth Guild for the Symphony League of Beaumont, as a camp assistant for Summer Explorers Day Camp, and as soccer buddy mentor for the Houston Dash Soccer Club. Jill will be attending Baylor University, where she has been selected into the Baylor Business Fellows program in the Hankemer School of Business, and has been awarded a President's Gold Scholarship. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jillian Claire Turley.
Hello, and welcome class of 2020. Good evening to all the families, friends, honored guests, and other supporters who are able to attend or view this modified graduation ceremony of the 100 graduates of Monsignor Kelly Catholic High School. My name is Jill Turley, and it is my honor to stand here today as salutatorian of the Kelly High School class of 2020.
I may be ranked second, but I'm the first to speak, so technically I beat Abby on this one. For years, Abby and I have been a part of a friendly group of academic competitors, which includes several other classmates from All Saints Episcopal School in Beaumont, where Abby and I attended classes together from kindergarten through 8th grade. I am honored to be sharing the stage with him today, and I am so excited that we are both able to represent All Saints in this way, since it was such a huge part of our formative years. Congratulations to you, Abby. I know firsthand the work ethic, dedication, and sacrifice it takes to be at the top of the class. And I thank the incredible faculty and staff at All Saints for the academic foundation they provided and for their care, guidance, and support throughout the years. And we all know that we would not be here today without the support of our families and friends who encouraged us, cheered us on, and made it possible for all of us to succeed in our educational pursuits. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for always supporting me. Now, I really wanted to do one of those selfies with me turned around and all of my fellow graduates in the frame. But if I stop and do that now, it's going to be me and just about 1/4 of my class, since everyone is so spread out. This is weird. The COVID-19 shutdown of our community and the closure of our school for the last 2 months is unprecedented. Having an outdoor ceremony on the football field in which everyone must wear face masks and sit 6 feet apart during this time of social distancing is new and different. But it's also historic, and it's unique and memorable. And regardless of the format, I have been waiting all year to be able to take out my phone at school. So I'm going to do my selfie anyway and make my own history. So, say COVID. When I learned in January that I had earned the rank of salutatorian, my first thought was about our graduation ceremony and what I would say to my peers and the other guests when we were all gathered together at the Beaumont Civic Center on May 16th. Hindsight is 2020. When I attended the Symphony Ball 3 months ago at the Civic Center and watched my brother Drew participate as a symphony bow as part of his 8th grade year, I looked around at the vast space and got a little bit nervous, imagining myself giving a speech to a big crowd in that same venue just a few months later. Hindsight is 2020. When I left the campus of Kelly High School after classes ended on Friday, March 13th, after what seemed like a never-ending third quarter, am I right? I could not wait to start spring break, knowing that it would fly by, and we would be back at school in what seemed like no time. Hindsight is 2020. Now, what exactly does that mean? Hindsight is looking back or reflecting on the past, while 2020 refers to perfect vision. The phrase means that it's easier to examine situations when we're looking back on them, instead of considering things when they are happening. In other words, it's meaningless to try and predict the future, but it's meaningful to learn from the past. And that's the thing. It is only hindsight that is 2020. Foresight is not always clear. Because we only know for certain what has happened in the past, it is important to acknowledge where we have been, what we have accomplished, and yes, where we have failed or fallen short. It is with 2020 hindsight that I embrace the opportunity to address my fellow graduates regardless of the format or location or date. I would encourage you to likewise use hindsight as a tool to help you live every day of your life. To truly live each day of your life means to make forward progress. To make progress and have the brightest future means recognizing what you have learned, whether from past victories, past mistakes, or the past in general, and then building on it. The events of the prior 2 months have reminded us that we should learn from the past so that we can live in the present and look forward to the future. As the class of 2020, we are not only learning from history, but we are making it. And history has especially shaped the lives of our class. 6 months before I was born, my dad wrote me a letter that in part said the following: "My baby, You are about 3 months along inside your mother. We are excited to see you and cannot wait to hold you. But today was a terrible day in the life of our country. We will never forget about this. You will read about this in your history books for school. His letter was dated September 11th, 2001. Nearly 2 decades later, the babies born on and around the time of 9/11 are high school seniors who are graduating and moving to a new chapter in their lives. And, once again, a historic, tragic event has hijacked our lives and wreaked havoc across our planet. What can we learn from this? Aside from making sure you always have an adequate supply of Clorox and toilet paper on hand, we should learn lessons from this as we do in the past, which are priorities and perspective. Priorities. I cannot tell you what your priorities should be. I can say, however, that you should think carefully about them, then decide for yourself, not based on the desires or the demands of others. Only you can determine the merit of your priorities. Perspective. What the world needs now more than ever is more thoughtful, purposeful perspective, and less shallow, selfish perspective. For example, it is not ideal that the last months of our senior year were spent at home in isolation with online learning and canceled events. But hindsight tells us to be thankful that we were able to finish high school and graduate on time, and that we are alive and healthy enough to be here and do so. My dad updated his letter to me in late 2002, the day before I was 9 months old. While he acknowledged the global world had changed, he stated how his own personal world had changed since my arrival, and he listed his new priorities, which were helping me get over my first cold, moving his family to a bigger house, and watching me grow. The perspective of his letter did not focus on the uncertainties that accompany change, but rather on the opportunities offered by it. The same applies to us in this time and place. None of us knows exactly what the future holds. All we know is that our lives are changing as we close the high school chapter and move on. Change is inevitable, but instead of focusing on its uncertainties, we should embrace its opportunities. Discover a broader perspective, sharpen your priorities, live your life, benefit from hindsight. When you left Kelly High School before spring break, you did not know then that the last class you had, the last pledge you spoke, the last morning announcements you heard, the last test you took, and the last bell that sounded would be the last. Ironically, this very idea is at the core of my senior quote for the yearbook, and it is based on something that Coach Rico Keeling constantly repeated to my club soccer team, which was, "Remember, the last soccer game you play may be the last soccer game you play. Make it count." Those words always struck me, not only for their parallelism, but for their simple truth. The last thing you did may be the last thing you did. No one is promised tomorrow. That's why you need to make today count. That's why your priorities and perspective matter. When Coach Rico died unexpectedly of an aneurysm last spring on April 7th, 2019, at age 29, it shocked the soccer community, of which I've been a member since 2010. He was young, active, and vibrant. He had a new wife and a new baby. He had a whole life to live, but then he was gone. I don't know what he did the day before, or even the hours before his death, but knowing him, his zest for life, his positive outlook, and his words of wisdom, I have no doubt that the last thing he did was done well. And it was done with a bright smile and a good attitude. Life is not always easy and fun. We have had an interesting 4 years together, with flooded buildings, concrete floors, raccoons living in the cafeteria, and a new bell system that created more panic than order. We have faced obstacles that seemed insurmountable, laughed until we cried, procrastinated, overslept, underslept, and then stayed up all night just to do it over again. We have had an especially hard start to this last quarter, with social distancing, face masks, endless hand washing, online school, and, if we are totally honest, a reversal of our days and nights. It may not be what we wanted, but it is what happened. There were uncertain times, stressful situations, and shortcomings during our years at Kelly High School. But there were also times of good memories and fun. As time passed, we were shaped into the people we are today. Individuals with unique personalities, ready to move on with our lives to bigger and better things. Whether you continue your studies at a university, college, trade school, or arts institute, whether you immediately join the workforce, or whether you serve our country by enlisting in the military, remember that the last thing you do may be the last thing you do. So whatever you do, do it well and make it count. Although we are the class of 2020, we do not have perfect vision. Even with the benefit of hindsight, our vision will never be perfect. Instead, we are a part of God's perfect vision and His plan, which has been in place for us since we were born. If you feel as though nothing much has happened yet, then examine your priorities, adjust your perspective, review your past, and get excited, because God has plans for your future. In Jeremiah 29:11, the Lord declared, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to give you hope and a future." Wherever your journey leads you, know that it's all a part of God's perfect plan, and that He has that plan for you, to give you hope and a future. Follow His will, and use your own 2020 hindsight as a guide. I congratulate each of you on your graduation, and I thank you for sharing high school with me. I encourage you to create solid priorities and choose meaningful perspective. I encourage you to live in the present and look to the future, but to also learn from the past, because hindsight is 2020. And above all, I encourage you to make each day of your life count. I conclude by borrowing the final line from the speech my mom gave as valedictorian of her high school class. Until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of His hand.
Let me now introduce the valedictorian of Monsignor Kelly Catholic High School's class of 2020, Abhavna Gorjala. Abhi is a 2-year member of the National Honor Society, a 3-year member of Mu Alpha Theta, serving as its president this past year. He has been on the Gold or All-A honor roll here at Kelly High School each of his 8 semesters. At Kelly High School, Abhi has been a member of the Spanish Club, serving as its president this year, and a member of the Key Club. He is a 3-year member of Kelly's varsity tennis team. Abhi has been recognized by his teachers as the outstanding student in numerous classes, including Spanish 2, 3, and 4, and AP Biology. He was recognized as an AP Scholar with honor for his performance on his AP tests last year as a junior. Abhi participated in the Economics for Leaders program at Rice University last summer and has worked as a tutor in mathematics and reading comprehension at the Kuman Learning Center. He has volunteered at Baptist Hospital of Southeast Texas for 3 years and with Beaumont's India Fest. Abhi was a lead organizer for a Hurricane Harvey fundraising project during his sophomore year to raise funds to assist with the recovery efforts here at Kelly High School. Abhi will be attending Rice University, where he will major in mathematical, economic analysis, and computer science. Ladies and gentlemen, Abhi Gorjala.
All right, here we are. Good evening, class of 2020, all 2 of your guests, and the 6 feet apart between you. Special thanks to COVID-19 for that. I'm sure everyone has heard of the picture your audience in their underwear tactic to make yourself less nervous, but instead y'all are all wearing masks, so this just makes me more nervous. Before I actually begin my speech, I'd like to say a few things. First, I'd especially like to thank my mom and dad, because without them, God knows where I'd be. I'd also like to thank all the Kelly High School teachers, coaches, staff, my friends, and especially Slater.com and SparkNotes.com. Second, while I was writing this, I tried to not make it a complete joke, but also not like one of Miss Bond's lectures on morality, so I just want y'all to know I tried my best to get a good middle ground between the two. Admittedly, while I was searching up how to write a valedictorian speech on Google, I made my way to YouTube and I found two kinds of speeches. The first kind were the ones with millions of views that I just knew I couldn't compete with. And the second kind was titled something like Valedictorian Goes Rogue on School Staff and Gets His Mic Cut by the Principal. So needless to say, neither of those videos helped me at all. But I have learned a lot over the past 4 years, and I've made a lot of good memories, so I felt like the best use of this speech would be to somewhat recap the past 4 years we've had. Alright, so let's start off with freshman year. Our freshman year started a few weeks after the tragic murder of Harambe the gorilla, so we already had a pretty tough start to high school. The beginning of high school marked an end to our middle school dances, playing Clash of Clans, the All Saints versus St. Anne's sports rivalries, even though it wasn't much of a rivalry, it was pretty one-sided, but I mean, who's counting? And we had to start focusing on our high school grades, sports, extracurriculars, etc. And on August 15th, 2016, we officially became Kelly Bulldogs. Little did I know what was about to come. I walked into Miss Stevens' class B block after sweating from basketball A block, and I'm expecting one of those do-nothing first class days where the teacher reads some useless syllabus and we have to forge the parent signatures by the next class. Boy, was I wrong. She whipped out the geometry the moment the bell rang, and I think I lost a few brain cells trying to understand what was going on. And then, if that wasn't bad enough, on to my next class, Coach Rice's biology, where he introduced us to Cornell-style notes, or as I like to call it, write until he says you can stop. I'm sure everyone freshman year, regardless of who their teachers were, felt that high school was a lot more work than middle school. Sometimes, even socially, high school was a bit annoying. Personally speaking, I had to expand my friend group from all 7 of the guys who went to All Saints to Kelly to other people. Overall, freshman year was a pretty memorable year. I'm sure you guys remember the legendary speeches for freshman class president. We had our first food fest. We even got to be in the stands for our first high school football games. But we don't really need to talk about our record football during freshman year. And in comparison to our other 3 years of high school, freshman year was probably the least stressful. And then came sophomore year. We felt great. We weren't the fish on campus anymore that everybody looks down on. I was no longer the ball boy in tennis PE. We got to be the ones to tell the freshmen about the second-story swimming pool. Other than that and a raccoon invasion in the cafeteria, sophomore year was kind of irrelevant in my opinion. But unfortunately, our little bit of fun did come to an abrupt stop. We were only a couple weeks into our second year of high school, and Hurricane Harvey flooded our entire campus. And about 2 weeks later, we returned to a floorless campus to finish the remainder of our sophomore year. That kind of brought down the whole mood. But on the bright side, some teachers let us eat in class since there was literally no carpet in the classroom. And I'm no snitch, so teachers, you know who you are, and y'all are the real MVPs. Next up, junior year. We were officially upperclassmen. It sounds great and all until you realize it's probably the hardest year of high school. People in AP classes, we had to endure a whole load of work, ranging from endless DBQs in Miss Lewis's class to rhetorical analysis in Miss Redmond's class. And people not in AP, don't worry, I didn't forget about y'all, because you guys might have even had it worse. I've heard you guys talk about 20-page homework packets, 100-question tests, in-class essays, all from Miss Prohoda's English class. On top of this whole load of schoolwork, we had to take all these standardized tests from the College Board. But hey, once again, on the bright side, after our 9 months of hard work, we went to our first prom. Unfortunately, that may or may not have been our only prom, but we don't talk about that either. And then the year we were all waiting for, senior year, we became the Alpha Dogs, the all-powerful students of Kelly High School. Nobody could stop us from cutting in the lunch line, unless you were Mr. John. In that case, you definitely could. We started off the year with a memorable senior sunset to begin our final part of high school. Everything was great. And then 1 month later, Tropical Storm Imelda hit us. You guys already know how this story goes, so I'm just going to skip right over it. We went back to our floorless school and went about our lives until Christmas break. And then a pandemic began, affecting every single member of the class of 2020. This pandemic has completely destroyed our academic motivation and performance. What I have just described is obviously an extremely contagious disease known as senioritis. The last semester of senior year was supposed to be the best part of high school, but little did I know that little did we all know that the Friday before spring break was our last day on campus as a Kelly student. We started online classes on Zoom that nobody really showed up for, and that was the point where all of us completely stopped caring and lost all sense of academic integrity whatsoever. Some of us just lost it faster than others. But hey, you gotta look on the bright side. We've all made a lot of good memories at the 3.5 years before that. Alright, now here's your warning. Here comes the cliche part of the speech. Looking back at these past 4 years, they have been a testament to the perseverance of the MKCHS class of 2020. No other class has gone through not one, but 2 floods and a global pandemic, all in 4 years of high school, and has still managed to achieve what we have done. I know Mr. Bemis has already said it, but I'll say it again because you guys like my voice more. We have excelled academically. 50% of us are honor graduates, and we've amassed around $4 million in scholarships. We've even excelled athletically. Numerous of us have been varsity athletes, earning all state and all district recognition, and we have 11 collegiate athletes within us. And we've also served our community by completing a little over 21,000 service hours. And now my final message to you guys, the class of 2020. As actor Christopher Reeve once said, "A hero is an extraordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles." So you guys are all heroes. And even though we are all going our separate ways now, never lose that quality, because great things come from hard work and perseverance. I know all of you will do great things in life, and I wish you all the best of luck in the future. And with that being said, I only know one way to end this speech, and that's by paraphrasing the great Kobe Bryant. Gorjala out.
Because of the various changing plans for this year's graduation, we were not able to obtain a guest baccalaureate speaker. However, if you will indulge me, I would like to share 2 brief thoughts with the class instead. First, my elder daughter graduated from Kelly in 2003. She went on to Texas A&M wanting to be a veterinarian. She lasted less than 1 semester as a pre-vet major and decided that she wanted to switch to music. She'd been very active in both band and choir here at Kelly and was a member of the women's chorus at A&M. Now, Texas A&M is a lot of wonderful things, but she knew it was not the place to major in music, at least not at that time. She didn't have a car at college then, so I drove to A&M one Friday afternoon, picked her up, brought her back to Beaumont. We got up early the next Saturday morning, the next day, and I took her to the University of Houston for an entrance exam and an audition into their music school. And she walked into the classroom for an entrance test, and I prepared to wait a couple of hours needed for taking that test. She came out of that classroom not 10 minutes later and said to me, "Dad, I don't want to do this." So I took her back to A&M to complete her semester. She changed her major and graduated with a psychology degree. Fortunately, she was able to do that in her 4 years. Now, unlike a degree in engineering or accounting or other degrees, which prepare you for specific jobs, a bachelor's degree in psychology does not. She was able to find work for a title company. Now, seniors, when you reach the point that you buy your first house, you'll know what a title company does. And you can make a pretty good living working for a title company, but she wasn't happy doing that. And so after a year or so, she entered one of the alternative certification programs in Texas for people who want to become teachers. And then she earned her teaching certificate and has now been happily teaching for nearly 10 years. Many of you do not have a clear idea what you want to do with your life. And those of you who do, like my daughter, may very well change your mind. Whether or not you know exactly what you want to do, or whether you actually do that, or you change your mind, I encourage you to always consider how you can be of service to the world. Lean on your faith and your prayer life to prepare you with guidance and support. As you probably know, I will be retiring shortly after 40 years in education, 23 in administration here at Kelly High School. At times, this has been a tremendously challenging career, but it has also been extremely rewarding and fulfilling. Whatever you do with your life, I pray that you will experience true fulfillment and satisfaction like I have. Secondly, when I first began at Kelly High School, I was visiting with a priest friend who told me, the worst thing you can teach your students is that they are special. Now, he was referring to an attitude that students, and all of us sometimes have, that rules don't really apply to me, or I'm better than others and I deserve special treatment. And I responded by saying, I agree. I think the best thing I can teach my students is that they are special. And I was referring to an attitude or a belief that each of them, that each of you, is a special creation from God. You have tremendous gifts, talents, and blessings. Some are very unique to you. I have tried over these last 23 years to instill in each of Kelly's students, in each of you sitting here tonight, that you are a special creation of God, unique from all others. You are not better, you are unique. In this sense, life is not a competition, except perhaps in competing to make yourself the very best that you can be. You have the potential to use your gifts, your talents, and your blessings to achieve great things. I hope, pray, and urge you to spend the next few years developing your gifts and talents, and better getting to know yourself, so that you will recognize God's plan for you. On behalf of the entire Kelly High School staff and community, I want to wish each of you tremendous success, happiness, peace, and fulfillment in your future. May you always be aware of God's great presence and blessing in your life. I'd now like to introduce the Superintendent of Schools for the Catholic Diocese of Beaumont, Mrs. Marcia Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Bemis. I'd like to take a moment to thank Mr. Bemis for 23 years of dedicated service to Kelly High School. It's always been an honor and a pleasure to work with him, and we are so appreciative of all he's given to the Kelly School. He's always professional and always shown great leadership, and we want you to know how much we appreciate all that you've done. Well, now we're going to look at certification of our graduates. Bishop Guillory, parents, relatives, and guests. As Superintendent of Schools for the Diocese of Beaumont, I hereby certify that these students, on whom we are about to confer these diplomas, have met all of the requirements for graduation as set forth by the Texas Catholic Conference of Bishops Education Department and in accordance with the Texas Education agencies. Seniors, will you please come forward to receive your diplomas?
Take your mask off. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the 2020 graduating class of Monsignor Kelly Catholic High School. Dylan Kente Alexander. Stop right there. There you go. Emile Louis Angel. Graduating cum laude, Gabriella Claire Angel. Graduating summa cum laude, Ian Federico Angel, Jr. Graduating summa cum laude, Serena Imtiaz Anwar. Graduating summa cum laude, Gerard Darit Bahar. Graduating cum laude, Rania Rupchali Banerjee. Grayson Glenn Bannister. Jackson Ray Bannister. Abigail Kane Barnett. Israel Trey Beverly. Hunter Joseph Bim. Jackson Reed Blackstock. Graduating summa cum laude, Derek Clinton Brazier. William Fuller Burbank. Brianna Nicole Bush. Alejandra Evangelica Carrion. Austin Sullivan Case. Emily Grace Christensen. Felicity Ann Coco. Graduating magna cum laude, Caitlin Marie Crenshaw. Graduating cum laude, McKenna Ray Cross. Graduating magna cum laude, Jennifer Lee DeLord. Graduating cum laude, Caitlin Marie Doctor. Aubrey Jean Downs. Catherine Johanna Drago. Isaac Delavan Dirksen. Graduating cum laude, Michael Vincent Duplessis. Graduating summa cum laude, Samantha Patricia Eshagari. Graduating summa cum laude, Isabella Grace Edano. William Courts Edwardson. Natashi and Uma Aziki. Kellen Marie Forson. Hannah Marissa Freeman. Graduating cum laude, Nicholas Jude Fusier. Courtney Rose Jirac. Regina Virginia Giles. Graduating summa cum laude and the valedictorian of his class, Abhinav Gorjala. Graduating summa cum laude, Madeline Elise Gidrose. Graduating cum laude, Mackenzie K. Henry. Graduating summa cum laude, Anna Lynn Hill. Graduating cum laude, Carly Chin Ho. Ashton Michelle Holder. Graduating cum laude, Ushuna Iya. Graduating cum laude, Delacia Armisi Jackson. Graduating cum laude, Eva Marielle Jacobson. Sarah Beth Jester. Carrington Elizabeth Joseph. Thomas McKinley Kent. Chloe Cecilia Knowles. Gabrielle Alexis LaSalle. Graduating cum laude, Grace Anne-Marie Ledoux. Parker Lane Leventhal. Brianna Isabel Lopez. Graduating cum laude, Ni Zung Lee. Graduating summa cum laude, Mallory Lauren Menken. Graduating magna cum laude, Alejandro Omar Martinez. Nell Alexandra McGrade. Jude Harrison McKinley. Graduating summa cum laude, Race Nasaruddin Moomin. Kelly Lynn Moncla. Graduating cum laude, Zachary John Moon. Virginia Aia Marsiglia. Graduating cum laude, Keith Andrew Nelson. Graduating cum laude, Christine Adusta Abodo, excuse me. Amanda Chica Honora. Rania Ali Osman. Jemiah Jani Otis. Graduating summa cum laude, Miriam Pavez. Graduating magna cum laude, Julia K. Phelan. Manora Raman. Angel Ruben Rico. Kennedy LaShawn Roberts. Amir Rodriguez. Austin Dean Rogers. Graduating magna cum laude, Logan Thomas Russell. Courtney Autumn Scritchfield. Graduating cum laude, Hayden Olton C. Graduating cum laude, Hannah Amit Shea. Joseph Julius Shanning. Graduating summa cum laude, Owen Scott Sheldon. Graduating cum laude, Natalie Blair Simon. Graduating magna cum laude, Arjun Robin Singh. Caitlin Elizabeth Smith. Graduating summa cum laude, Andrea Nicole Spina. Graduating summa cum laude, Emily Elizabeth Steinhagen. Shelby Nicole Stovall. Graduating cum laude, Chandler Lynn Talbot. Madison Isabella Tamayo. Graduating summa cum laude, Reese Prescott Toops. Graduating magna cum laude, Alex Phi Tran. Graduating summa cum laude, Depthu Joanna Tran. Graduating summa cum laude and the salutatorian of her class, Jillian Claire Turley. Graduating summa cum laude, Joshua Edward Tweedle. Macy Gail Humphrey. Graduating magna cum laude, Christina Zion Uguyo Uzo. Graduating cum laude, Samantha McLaren Woodall. Before we conclude this evening, I would like to thank everyone for your cooperation with and acceptance of the various health and social distancing restrictions we have had in place this evening. As you know, the coronavirus and its COVID-19 infection has been and continues to remain a tremendous public health issue. Fortunately, many of us have, for the most part, only been inconvenienced over the past 2.5 months, but many others have been severely affected financially, emotionally, and health-wise. On last night's national news, it was announced that the deaths in the United States due to COVID-19 has just passed 100,000 this week, that 40 million people have filed for unemployment. That's 1 out of 4 workers in this country. Many people are very severely affected. Adherence to these restrictions is simply one way we can show our care and our concern for others. After our ceremony concludes, I would ask that everyone exits the stadium as quickly as possible and move directly to your vehicle and avoid congregating. Parents, if you would like to pick up your child's yard sign along the walkway as you exit, it's our gift to your son or your daughter. Our students will process out first, and then family and guests will be dismissed individually by members of our staff to try to avoid congestion as you leave the stands. Seniors, would you please stand? It gives me great pleasure to announce that you are now graduated. You may turn your tassel. Congratulations. And one last time, seniors, I'll ask you if you would please be seated. And I'd like to call upon the Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Beaumont, the Most Reverend Curtis Guillory, for any closing remarks or final blessings he may wish to impart.
Well, among the many memories that I will have of this graduating class this evening, and it might be historical throughout the country or even the world for that matter, namely that during your graduation you are accompanied by the music of frogs. I don't know if you can hear the frogs in the back. But first of all, I want to thank Mr. Bemis in a very, very special way for 23 years of loving service in education, particularly here at Kelly High School. I am deeply grateful to you, Mr. Bemis, and I know all of us are grateful and express our gratitude for your dedication, your commitment to education, and particularly here at Kelly. I also want to thank our superintendent, Mrs. Marcia Stevens, for her leadership in collaboration with the bishops of Texas as well as the Department of Education for her loving service and dedication. And then I want to thank the parents, grandparents, extended families. I know that you are making a great sacrifice in order to send your son or daughter to Kelly High School. But I think, as you have heard from Mr. Bemis, your sacrifice is really not only important but also rewarding. I think these are the finest high school graduates really in our country, and I know that the preparation that they have had, the faith formation, the Catholic Christian environment in which they have grown, and the academic excellence. And I think you can tell by the 3 million or so scholarships that they have received, I think is a testimony to the fine educational institution here at Kelly. I am so grateful to you, the parents and extended family. And graduates, I want to congratulate you. I know that this is not what you expected, but I hope you see it as part of your formation, part of your growth. Because as you go through life, as you go forward, the plans that you make may not always work out the way you want them to. However, through faith and adaptation, perhaps the gifts that you didn't realize you had, or the calling that God is, the mission that He has for you, would not have been realized in the original plan. And so I think it's a great lesson. And if I may just leave these words with you, and it really is from the Gospel of St. Mark. And let me just kind of review it for you. It's about the healing of the blind man. Now, what's important is that the disciples asked Jesus to give the blind man his sight. Now, it was not just about an eyesight, but it also was a spiritual sight and insight. The first thing that Jesus told the man is, "Come with me, let's get away from the city." And I take that to mean, get away from the noise, get away from the hustle and bustle, get away from the worries and anxieties, and come to a peaceful place. And there, for us, we were forced to pause. And I think out of that pause, we have spent more time with family. We have had an opportunity to evaluate our values, what is really important and meaningful in our lives. Certainly faith, family, friends. Those are the things, the values that give our lives a purpose and a meaning. And then if you remember, Jesus touched his eyes the first time, and then Jesus asked him, "What do you see?" And he says, "Well, I see people walking around and trees, but it's not clear." And so Jesus touched his eyes a second time. I think the lesson here is in discerning the will of God, in deciding what it is that God is calling me to do, what is important for me and my life. It's not like a microwave where you just put the food in there and it's automatically cooked. Sometimes we have to wait on the Lord. We have to be patient and listen and hear and see what he's calling us to do. And then Jesus touched his eyes a second time, and the man says, "Now I see clearly." I hope and pray that during this time of being at home, of distancing, wearing a mask, washing the hands, all of these things that we have to do, I hope it helps you to see more clearly. First of all, that you are a gift from God. You are precious in the sight and in the eyes of God, and that God has created you for a mission that only you can do. And that mission, particularly of service, will become more clear. And finally, Jesus tells him, do not go back to the city. As you move forward, do not go back to the city. I think that's what that says for us. Let us not go to our old ways. Let us go forward with a new mission, a new vision, a new attitude, a new determination to make the world a better place and to develop your own talents and gifts, not just for yourselves, but for the world, because you are going to face many challenges, and what is going to become of our world is really to a great degree dependent upon you. And I know you have received the kind of education that will help you face those challenges and create a new world, a world that is more reflective of God's love for us. And so I will conclude with this prayer. It is the prayer for peace by St. Francis. You know, there's a lot of turmoil in our world. And how does peace come about? Well, Jesus has explained it to us. It is up to us to be instruments of his peace. And so I pray, Lord, make me an instrument. Grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are given the gift of eternal life. Congratulations, and may God bless you.
Students, would you please stand? Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce for the first time the 2020 graduates of Monsignor Kelly Catholic High School.